Attention passionate Dallas, COWBOYS. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC East and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Dallas Cowboys' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Dallas Cowboys fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your friends and Dallas, COWBOYS. Let's get to the news. Now, folks, you might have heard some of the latest buzz coming out of the NFL, and especially regarding the Dallas Cowboys. But today, we're diving deep into a story that could have a profound effect on the Cowboys' secondary, on their quest for Super Bowl glory, and how a recent move in the NFC North could actually shake things up in the entire league. It all started with a surprising development. The Green Bay Packers, just this Monday morning, decided to release veteran cornerback Jaire Alexander. Yes, you heard that right. After 7 seasons, 2 of them filled with Pro Bowl honors, Alexander finds himself on the open market for the first time in his career. Now, for fans of the Packers, that might be bittersweet, but for the Cowboys, this could be a golden opportunity. Jaire Alexander, for those who might not be fully familiar, is a cornerback who's known for his exceptional coverage skills, his agility, and his ability to lock down some of the best receivers in the league. Over the years, he's established himself as a tough, reliable presence in the secondary, and his ability to play both man and zone coverage makes him versatile, exactly what teams need to bolster their defensive backfields. But the question is, why now? Why did the Packers decide to part ways with such a talented player? Well, the NFL is a business, and sometimes salary cap considerations, injuries, and roster rebuilding plans lead to tough decisions. And in Alexander's case, after battling injuries over the past 2 seasons, the Packers might have decided it was time to move on and see if they can find a fresh start elsewhere. That's where the Cowboys come into the picture. Now, if you've been following Dallas's offseason, you know that their secondary has been a bit of a mixed bag. Trevon Diggs, their top corner and one of the most feared ball hawks in the league, is still recovering from knee surgery. Remember, Diggs tore his ACL last October, and although he's making good progress, he's not expected to be back on the field immediately when the season kicks off. And his return isn't just about his health, it's also about timing. The Cowboys need to ensure that he's fully recovered and ready to perform at the highest level. Meanwhile, rookie Shavon Jaire, who showed promise during his college days and had a decent start in the NFL, is also rehabbing from a torn ACL suffered last October. That leaves the Cowboys in a tricky spot because the depth at cornerback is thin, and the team needs to be proactive if they want to maintain their defensive dominance. Right now, the only cornerback in the Cowboys roster who is a guaranteed starter heading into the mandatory minicamp is DaRon Bland. And Bland, for those who might not know, had a breakout season last year, showing he can be a true shutdown corner. But even with Bland's impressive play, the depth behind him is uncertain. The team has been rotating through reserve corners during offseason activities. Kaiir Elam, Israel Mukuamu, Kemen Hall, Juanie Thomas, Kalen Carson, all of them have had their moments, but none of them have definitively secured a starting role. That's why the idea of bringing in a veteran like Jaire Alexander makes so much sense. His proven ability to lock down top receivers could give the Cowboys a much-needed boost, especially when it comes to managing opposing teams' #1 targets. Now, let's pause for a moment here because this is a key point. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Dallas Cowboys news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now, let us continue with the big reveal. What makes Alexander an intriguing option for Dallas is not just his talent, but the kind of impact he could have on their defense. If he joins the Cowboys, he would likely slot into the other outside corner position, opposite Bland. That pairing could instantly elevate the secondary's overall quality. The Cowboys have been pretty confident in Kaiir Elam's potential, especially after his first-round pick status a few years ago, and he's looked solid during off-season practices. But Elam's still unproven as a full-time starter, and the team wants to see how he performs under the pressure of Week 1. Adding a veteran like Alexander could serve as a safety net, giving the coaching staff flexibility and peace of mind during the early part of the season. And let's not forget the strategic aspect of this potential signing. Having Alexander on the roster would also mean that Dallas could be more patient with Diggs and Wheeler's rehab processes. They wouldn't have to rush their return, knowing they have an experienced, high-caliber player in Alexander to step in if needed. Plus, with Alexander's ability to match up against top receivers, the Cowboys could focus on their defensive scheme, allowing more freedom for their other defensive players to excel. This kind of depth and experience could be the difference maker in close games, especially in the NFC, where playoff battles often come down to key defensive stops. But of course, it's not all smooth sailing. There are some hurdles to consider, the biggest one being cost. Over the past couple of seasons, Alexander has missed a significant number of games, 20 in total, due to injury. His durability is a concern, especially given that the Cowboys are already dealing with some health issues in their secondary. Adding a player who's been injury-prone could be risky, and the last thing Dallas wants is to bring in someone who might not be available when it counts the most. Moreover, Alexander's recent market value suggests he could command a one-year deal in the range of $8 million to $10 million. For a player with his injury history and limited recent playtime, that's a hefty price tag. Paying that for a guy who might only give you a handful of games could be a gamble that the Cowboys need to weigh carefully. And this is where the Cowboys' current depth chart becomes so relevant. They're optimistic about Jaire stepping into a larger role, especially after a decent offseason, which has given the team some confidence that they might not need to add another veteran right now. The coaching staff is probably going to evaluate Elam closely during training camp and see how he performs in live game situations. If he shows promise, the Cowboys might decide to hold off on making a big splash in free agency. But if Elam struggles, or if injuries hit again, then bringing in someone like Alexander becomes a much more attractive option. Of course, the Cowboys are always looking for ways to improve, and their defensive history shows a willingness to be aggressive in free agency when the opportunity presents itself. They understand that to compete at the highest level, they need a secondary that can handle the league's best receivers week after week. And in the NFC, where teams like the Eagles, 49ers, and Seahawks have explosive passing attacks, having a lockdown corner opposite Bland could be the key to unlocking consistency and elite-level defense. Now, let's talk about what this could mean for Dallas's overall season outlook. Cowboys have been building a formidable roster, with their offense firing on all cylinders, led by Dak Prescott's steady leadership and a talented group of playmakers. But defense wins championships, and their secondary has shown flashes of brilliance, but also moments of vulnerability. Improving that unit could be the final piece of the puzzle. If they manage to add Alexander and keep their current core healthy, they could elevate their standing in the NFC to be real contenders for the Super Bowl. Remember, in recent years, Dallas's defense has been a bit inconsistent, especially against the pass. Opposing quarterbacks have found ways to exploit the secondary at times, and that's something the coaching staff is undoubtedly aware of. Adding a veteran like Alexander wouldn't just be about his individual talent. It's about leadership, experience, and the ability to bring a level of consistency that's been missing at times. Plus, with the Cowboys having a solid pass rush led by stars like Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence, a cornerback with Alexander's skill set could turn that pressure into even more turnovers and game-changing plays. It's a symbiotic relationship. Pressure up front, combined with lockdown coverage down the field, can transform a good defense into an elite one. Looking at the bigger picture, this move could also influence their draft strategy and offseason priorities. If the Cowboys manage to sign Alexander, it might free them from the pressure to draft a corner early or to spend heavily on other secondary help. They could instead focus on adding depth at linebacker or safety, or even bolster their offensive lines or skill positions, knowing that their secondary is now more secure. Conversely, if they decide not to go after Alexander due to cost or health concerns, they'll likely keep their eyes open for affordable, high-upside options in the draft or on the free agent market. Now, let's not forget the historical context here. The Dallas Cowboys have always been a franchise that values strong secondary play. From the days of Deion Sanders to the recent years, with Byron Jones and Trevon Diggs, having a shutdown corner or a reliable veteran has been a cornerstone of their defensive identity. The team's front office and coaching staff have shown a willingness to make bold moves when they believe it will pay off, and bringing in a player of Alexander's caliber would certainly be in that spirit. It could also serve as a message to the league that Dallas is serious about contending not just on offense, but on defense as well. And as fans, we're all eager to see how this unfolds. Will Jerry Jones and the front office make a push for Alexander? Will the health concerns outweigh the potential upgrade? These are questions that only time will answer, but one thing is clear. The Cowboys are at a crossroads in their secondary, and the decision they make in the coming weeks could have lasting implications for their Super Bowl aspirations. In conclusion, the potential signing of Jaire Alexander is one of the most intriguing storylines of this offseason for the Cowboys. It represents both an opportunity and a challenge, a chance to significantly upgrade a position that has been a work in progress, and a gamble considering his injury history and price tag. But if they do manage to bring him in, it could be the move that pushes Dallas over the edge and turns their defense into a formidable force that can carry them deep into January. The NFC is stacked, no doubt about it, but with the right additions, the Cowboys can position themselves as true contenders, ready to face whatever the postseason throws at them. And now, Dallas Cowboys fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this potential move? Do you think Alexander is the piece that could put Dallas over the top? Or do you believe the risks outweigh the benefits? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Dallas Cowboys. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Dallas Cowboys news. Thanks for being with us, and as always, go Cowboys!